Hello, hello. So I thought I would talk a little bit about streaming when you use Linux and why I think it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Um, Normally I just use, the regular OBS Studio. There are another version called Streamlabs OBS, or Slabs as I call it. I don't like it at all. And by the way, Slabs doesn't work on Linux, which is kind of perfect for me anyway. You can see here it's OBS 2202 when I use this Linux. And I managed to install also the browser source, or the browser is called Linux browser, so I can use alerts and stuff. So that's awesome. But I thought I would talk a little about other stuff. Linux versus Windows. Windows. What man made a later from Windows. Yeah, software. I used to have this Streamlabs chatbot software. You install it on your computer. It's a nice app. You can have a bunch of stuff here, and commands and currency and ranks and sound effects and whatnot. But it doesn't work on Linux. I asked them if there will be sort of a Linux version. They say like, no. And it's kind of weird because as far as I know, this chatbot is developed in Python, the Python language, and Python works just fine in Linux or on Linux. So why can't they just port it to Linux? Because they're lazy. So that's one thing, but I actually managed to switch to more of a web bot. I don't really like web bots because sometimes they go down and stuff like that. Like yesterday when I streamed, the bot just stopped working all of a sudden. But yeah, it works. The web bot that I got now actually works. You can add like custom commands and whatever. It has its own overlays, and it's StreamJar, by the way. And then we come to some other stuff. For example, I have this sound card. It's super old. It's back from the Windows XP era. This is the sound card, and it has this external box. You connect to it with a special proprietary cable. And this is the back side of it all, this box. This interface is PCI. It's that old. It's not PCI Express. It's PCI. And my motherboard is kind of a budget motherboard. It's kind of new. I have the Intel, let's see, yeah, I actually have this on. Yeah, I am on Linux here. You can see it's Ubuntu. i5 6600K. I got the GTX 660. And this is the Skylake. So this CPU is like 3 years old. Manufactured or released in 2016. Yes. Like beginning of 2016, something like that. I got my computer in 2017. But anyway, this motherboard actually have a PCI slot, or two of them actually, even though it's just 2-3 years old. So this card actually works. I thought it wouldn't work because it's been laying in a drawer of mine for many years. Because when Windows Vista was released, this card stopped working. There weren't any drivers for it, so that didn't work. So that's why I pulled it out and never used it. until I find this dude's blog. And I went to Sound Blaster website looking for drivers. They didn't have any updated drivers. They were like 5 years old or whatever. But this dude actually took those drivers and kind of updated them himself. So these drivers actually works on Windows, not Linux. Linux, you don't really need to install drivers on Linux because the drivers are kind of built into the kernel. But on Windows you need to kind of install drivers, and this actually works on Windows 10. And you can see that this external box have a bunch of inputs and outputs, mostly inputs. So on the front you got the FireWire, so you know it's kind of old. It's FireWire 400, so it's old. No one uses FireWire today, I think. Then you have optical, digital in and out. Yes, in as well. Usually you have digital out only, but this one have in and out. And then you have two of these. They look like the 1/4-inch headphone jacks. These are actually line in, and this center one is also a combined line in and microphone in. And this knob here, you can, when you switch this, it's also a switch. So when you turn it, you hear a click, and then this port turns into a microphone input. And you have a volume control on that microphone as well. And the last one is just a headphone jack. And this big knob is a master volume control, but this knob only works on Windows XP. It doesn't work on Linux or Windows 10. Then you have just a button called CRSS. I don't remember what that stands for. Then on the back side you have analog line in, MIDI in and out, and then coaxial digital in and out. Yes, input as well. Then like this 3.5-inch whatever or millimeter port digital in. Then you got this proprietary connector that connects to the sound card over there. And then also like 2 FireWire connections, but this one is just not a FireWire, it just it combines, so it's on the same cable as this one. And then just a second FireWire, so you have a FireWire 400 at the back and one at the front. So yeah, this have a lot of inputs and outputs, and if you look at it in Windows Sound Manager or sound settings, you got like 5 or 6 inputs, whatever. So this card just works just fine with these drivers in Windows 10. The card works just flawlessly. But it doesn't work flawlessly on Linux. Well, the sound card kind of works. So going into sound here, you can see the audio thing here. I got the built-in on the motherboard, and I use the digital output to my sound system. I usually use speakers. Then you got the built-in audio headphones. This is for the built-in. And here you can see it says EMU, it says RG2, so it shows up in the sound, but it only got the digital output and analog output. Okay, only 2. If I go to inputs, you can see my webcam, and then only 1 digital input on my sound card and microphone. Where are all the ports? Where are all the rest of the ports? I mean, so this is one of the problems that I have actually on the Linux, just the audio stuff. Just a big derp. To me, at least. It kind of works, but... and on Windows, I also use a special software or a software mixer called the Voice Meter Banana. And since and this is also a Windows only software, And this is a great software, and I learned a lot about it, how to use it. So the nice thing with this is that you can split up all the inputs into different channels, and every other software connect to this mixer. So for example, I can have, it says hardware input, but you can have, I set it up as like this channel is for Discord, this one is for, I think it was music, and then I had the sound effects in the Streamlabs chatbot in another channel. Then you have the regular desktop audio and game audio, and I never used this one. But the nice part with this is that you can control I can control Discord volume from here, music as well. And the nice thing, this controls over here, volume controls here, only affect what I hear in my headphones. It doesn't affect the OBS or anything, just what I hear in my headphones. And what this mixer does is sends out just a line, audio line to the OBS. And this control doesn't affect that line out, so to speak. So if I have to adjust the stream audio, I do that on OBS, and that's just perfect because I can set one volume on the stream and another different volume in my headphones. So if I want to have really, really loud music in my headphones, I can just adjust that in this mixer, and it doesn't affect OBS. OBS still, the stream still hear their low volume music. But of course, this doesn't work on Linux. So, and this one also has a built-in equalizer and stuff. So I have decided that I actually installed Windows 10 on a different drive in my computer. And what I can do is that when I boot the computer, I don't let Linux or Windows do their dual boot thing. No. I don't let them mess with the bootloader. So what I do when I boot the computer, I just press F8 and I get a boot menu, so I can select which drive I want to boot on. So when I'm going to stream from now on, I will do that from Windows 10. So I only have a Windows 10 installation for streaming. I would like to do everything on Linux, but as I said, software and stuff work better on Windows, especially for streaming. Also video editing, I think, works a lot better. There's this DaVinci Resolve right now, seems to be the popular thing for both Windows and Linux, which is nice. The DaVinci Resolve is both, it's cross-platform. And Adobe Premiere and stuff, it's Windows only. Well, it works on Mac and Windows. But Linux, no. So, but otherwise I use Windows or Linux as my main system on a daily basis, and I only switch to Linux or to Windows when I'm going to stream. So, and here's another kind of a derpy thing in Linux. You can see my monitor here. It's 16 by 10 monitor, so it's 1920 by 1200 resolution instead of 1080. As you can see on this video, yeah, I record in 1200 because I can select over here in resolution, it says 1080 and it says scaled, which means if I select 1080 here, it will cut off the bottom part of the monitor. So in a video you won't see my sort of taskbar down here. It will cut off somewhere around here. In Windows, when I change the resolution, it will actually natively just change to 1080. So there's something in the drivers, I think, for Linux that doesn't work properly. And my monitor doesn't stretch that 1080 either. I get black bars on the top and bottom, but I still see the full screen as it is, not stretched or anything. But on Linux, it just scales it, it cuts it off. And that's because the NVIDIA drivers, if you use the Nouveau drivers, you can do this 1080 just fine, but it doesn't work when you use NVIDIA drivers. But I have to use the NVIDIA drivers because the Nouveau drivers just make my system crash or freeze. So it just sucks. I have to use the NVIDIA drivers on Linux. So yeah, that's kind of an annoying thing with Linux and streaming. The software just works so much better on Windows. And yeah, I just asked developers like this if they will have any plans for Linux versions, but no, we don't have any requests for it or enough requests. But I mean, if it's already programmed in Python and Python works on Linux, why not just port it? It's just fucking annoying. It works on like Mac. It's easy to just do it for Mac, but no, not Linux. We hate Linux. So yeah, I know it's an old sound card, but I like to have this external box because it have a lot more inputs and outputs, and I like the headphone amp in this one. The headphone amplifier in this one box is a lot better than the built-in on the motherboard. It's like 10 times better. It sounds better, and it also, the sound quality is better. So that's why I still use this card. And I was really happy to find out that it worked on Windows 10. And somewhat works on Linux. But yeah, that's kind of the sad part when developers don't want to develop for Linux. And I also actually paid. No, I didn't. This is actually free software. It's donationware, they call it, but you can add sort of inputs, the cable inputs for it. I actually paid for that. I used to have like virtual cable before, but that audio quality wasn't really that good, and it's not updated as well. So I just bought the specific audio cables for this, or the inputs. But anyway, so when I'm streaming, I actually stream on Mixer. At the moment, I just, I think Twitch is a little bit of a derp. I think things works a lot better on Mixer. You can have higher quality and higher bitrate. I think Twitch is up to like 6 megabits or 6,000 kilobits. And Mixer is up to 10,000 kilobits. So I can just easily stream 1080 streams, and it looks perfect. And Mixer have a bunch of other things built in already, like the multi-stream or multi-mixer. You can invite other streamers to do some kind of co-host thing. So that you can have like up to 4 different streamers in one video. Twitch is starting to implement that, but I would not be surprised if this future on Twitch will be a partner-only thing. Everything on Twitch is just partner. Everything is partner. And it's basically impossible to be a partner these days or become a partner on Twitch. So, and I think just Mixer works a lot better. There are some small things that I miss. I can't, for example, have timestamps on each message. The timestamps is like this. And then you can have multiple messages on each thing here, you see here. But I would like to have timestamps like on each message. But there's no settings for it. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So 20 minutes video, so let's stop it over here. And let's say that I think, yeah, streaming on OBS works if you're going to have like a simple stream, like a game or whatever. But yeah, it works. OBS works. So if you have just a simple stream with only your microphone and your game, then Linux is just fine. But when you start to do a lot of audio mixing and different channels, a bunch of overlays and stuff, then I think personally, for me at least, my experience is that Linux starts to crumble when it comes to more advanced stuff for streaming. So yeah, 20 minutes recording. So yeah, let's kind of end it over here. So see you later.